Good morning, students. Welcome back to DLF class. Today we are going to see signed and unsigned binary numbers. You know what is a binary number, that is zeros and ones, you call it as a binary numbers. So for that we are going to represent a sign. It may be a positive number or it may be a negative number. The integer variables are represented in a signed and unsigned manner. So the positive and the negative values are differentiated by using the sign flag in signed numbers. That is, minus is used for negative number and plus is used for positive numbers. That is how we are going to differentiate the positive and negative values. The unsigned numbers do not use any flag for the sign. That is, for example, if we have a positive number, we doesn't need to put it is a plus. If there is no negative sign, that indicates it is a positive number. That is, only positive number can stored by the unsigned numbers. It is very easy to represent positive and negative numbers in our day-to-day life. We present the positive numbers without adding any sign before them, and the negative number with minus sign before them. That is what I have said. If it is 5, if you are representing the number 5, it indicates it's a positive 5 plus 5. If we indicate minus sign before 5, it indicates the negative number, that is minus 5. If you indicate without sign, just only 5, that indicates it's a positive number. But in digital system, it is not possible to use a negative sign before them because the data is in the binary form in digital computers. For representing the sign in the binary numbers, we require a special notation. Here, that is, in normal, if it is a integer, we can represent it plus and minus symbol. Even for positive numbers, we doesn't represent a plus. But only for a negative numbers, we are representing a minus sign. But in case of the binary, it is not possible to represent minus and plus. So we have to represent a negative and a positive in the binary format only. So for that we require a special notation. First we will see a binary number representation. That is, we will see for minus what we are representing in binary number and for plus what we are representing in the binary number. So first we will see the binary numbers representation. Our computer can understand only 0 and 1, that is binary. Only two things, one is 0 and another one is 1, language. The binary numbers are represented in both ways, one is signed and unsigned. The positive numbers are represented in both the ways, that is signed and unsigned, but the negative numbers can represent described in only a signed way. So see here, the positive numbers can represented in both ways. One is, that is a signed and unsigned, but negative numbers can represent described or represented only in a signed way. So that is what I have already said. Signed, if you represent a plus before the positive number, or we cannot represent a plus sign before the positive number. That is, if, for example, if it is 5, it indicates a positive, plus 5 also indicates a positive. But in the case of negative numbers can described in only signed way. If you represent 5, minus 5 only, it is a negative number. If not, it is a positive number. So this is not a minus, this is a hyphen. So if you don't need, I will take this. Okay. So the difference between the signed and unsigned number is that unsigned numbers do not use any sign bit for the positive and negative numbers identification, but in the signed it is used. We will see that. So we will see with the help of this small diagram. So see here, binary representation only for positive numbers. Unsigned representation, unambiguous, only 1 0. Signed representation for both positive and negative numbers. Only for positive, but for both positive and negative numbers. Signed representation. Sign magnitudes form ambiguous two zeros. One's complement ambiguous two zeros. Two's complement form ambiguous only 1 0. So this is how we are representing the binary number representation. We will see that. Unsigned numbers. Already we know the unsigned numbers don't have any sign for representing negative numbers. So the unsigned numbers are always positive. By default, the decimal number representation is positive. We always assume a positive sign in front of each decimal digit. There is no sign bit in unsigned binary number, so it can represented in the magnitude in 0 and 1. 0 is an unsigned binary number. There is only 1 0 in this representation, which is always positive, because one unique binary equivalent from a number is unsigned number representation. It is always an ambiguous representation technique. The range of the unsigned binary number starts from 0 to 2n minus 1. So that is unsigned binary numbers. We already know that unsigned binary numbers don't have any sign for representing negative number. So the unsigned numbers are always positive. By default, the decimal number representation is positive. We always assume positive sign in the front of each digit. So there is no unsigned, there is no sign bit in unsigned binary numbers. So it can only represent in the magnitude. In 0 and 1, 0 is an unsigned binary number. There is only 1 0 in this representation, which is always positive. So this is unsigned binary numbers, means there is, you don't have any sign to represent it. See here. We will have an example. See here, represent the decimal number 1 or 2 in unsigned binary numbers. We will change this decimal number into binary, which has the only one magnitude of the given name. So see here, you know how to convert a decimal to binary. You should divide it by 2. So see here, this is the result, and see here, this is 0 1 1 0 from 1 1 0 0 1 1 0. This is how we have to represent. So see here, this is, so the binary number, this is a decimal number that is converted to binary. This is a 7-bit magnitude of the decimal 1 or 2. So how many numbers? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So before this we have not represented any sign that it indicates it is a positive number, or that indicates it is a unsigned number. So how we can differentiate signed and unsigned number? We will see next. Signed numbers. The signed numbers have a sign bit so that it can differentiate positive and negative integer numbers. The signed binary number technique has both the sign bit and the magnitude of the number. So here only we are representing the magnitude, that is this is 7-bit magnitude. There is no, before this one there is no sign bit. I will say, for sign bit we will represent 0 or 1 before this 7-bit magnitude. We will see in the signed numbers. For representing the negative decimal number, the corresponding symbol is in the front of binary number will be added. The signed numbers are represented in the 3 ways. The sign bit makes 2 possible representation of 0, positive 0 and negative 1, which is unambiguous representation. The third representation is 2's complement, representing in which no double representation of 0 is possible, which makes it unambiguous representation. There are the following types of representation of signed binary numbers. So this is a magnitude, this is only a magnitude, 7-bit magnitude. Before that we are not represented any 0 or 1. If you represent 0 before this sign, before, suppose if we represent 0 here before this one, that indicates, before this one, before the magnitude, this indicates it's a positive number. Suppose that is, if in signed, this for example I am saying, if I give here 1, it indicates it's a negative number, that is -1 or 2. If it is 0 here, it's a positive 1 or 2. If it is 1 here, it's a negative 1 or 2. That is a negative number. This is how we represent in the signed numbers. But unsigned numbers, just we are representing a magnitude only. But in unsigned numbers only we are representing the magnitude. This part you call it as only magnitude. This is magnitude. If we represent before this, if we represent 0, it indicates it's a positive. Signed numbers, but it indicates a positive. If you have 1, that indicates it's a negative. That is a signed number. We will see the signed magnitude form. In this form, a binary number has a bit of sign symbol. If the bit is set to 1, the number will be a negative number, else the number will be positive if it is set to 0. That is what I have explained here. Okay, I will explain in Tamil also. So listen students. So first binary number is divided into two types. Listen, Gyanikana. So binary number representation. Binary number representation we are divided into two types. One is unsigned representation only for positive numbers. இன்னொன்று வந்து signed representation. இந்த unsigned representation வந்து magnitude மட்டும் தான் represent பண்ணும். இது வந்து sign represent பண்ணது magnitude represent பண்ணது. இது signed representation. So signed representation வந்து three types ஆ பிரிக்கிறோம். One signed magnitude form, one's complement and two's complement. So first வந்து unsigned numbers பார்க்கலாம். Unsigned numbersனா நம்ம வந்து எதுவும் வந்து பிஃபோரை வந்து எந்த சிம்பிளும் நம்ம போடுறதில்ல. அதாவது வந்து அந்த அன்சைன் நம்பருக்கு வந்து மேக்னிடியூட் பார்ட் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும். அதாவது வந்து இந்த பார்ட் மட்டும்தான் நம்ம டெசிமல்லேருந்து நம்ம வந்து பைனரியாக கன்வெர்ட் பண்ண பாருங்கள், அந்த பார்ட் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும். அதுதான் வந்து மேக்னிடியூட் பார்ட். ஆனால் வந்து இங்கே பாருங்கள் 1 or 2 வந்து டெசிமல் இல்லையா, இதை வந்து நம்ம பைனரியாக கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம். நம்மளுக்கு என்ன அவுட்புட் வந்துச்சோ கன்வர்ஷனில் அது மட்டும்தான் போடுவோம். பாருங்கள் 7 பிட் வந்துருக்கு, 1100 110. நம்ம அதை மட்டும்தான் போட்டிருக்கோம். இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து எதுவும் போடல. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து இதுதான் வந்து ஒன்லி மேக்னிடியூட் மட்டும் இருந்தால் அது வந்து அன்சைன் நம்பர்ஸ். இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நம்ம 0 போட்டோம்னா அதாவது வந்து எத்தனை பிட் இருக்குது, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 பிட் இருக்குங்க. 7 பிட்டுமே மேக்னிடியூட் தான். சப்போஸ் நான் வந்து இங்கே வந்து 0 போட்டேன்னா இது வந்து பாசிட்டிவ் 1 or 2 சைன் நம்பர்ஸில். சப்போஸ் இங்கே வந்து நான் 1 போட்டேன்னா அது வந்து நெகட்டிவ் நம்பர். ஸோ இந்த 1ம் 0ம் எதை குறிக்குதுன்னா சைன் பார்ட்டை குறிக்குது. இந்த விஷயம்லாம் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா மேக்னிடியூட். இந்த 1 மட்டும்தான் வந்து சைன். 1 இருந்தால் நெகட்டிவ் ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்ணுது. சப்போஸ் இங்கே 0 இருந்தால் இது வந்து பாசிட்டிவ் என்ற ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்ணுது. இது வந்து மேக்னிடியூட் பார்ட். இது வந்து 0 மட்டும்தான் வந்து உங்களுக்கு சைன் பார்ட். விட் இண்டிகேட் 0 or 1. ஸோ அதை தான் வந்து இந்த சைன் நம்பர்ஸில் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க அவங்க. ஸோ இதுதான் சைன் மேக்னிடியூட் பார்ட். ஒன்ஸ் காம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் எப்படின்னா இங்கே இருக்குது இல்லைங்களா இந்த மேக்னிடியூட் பார்ட். ஸோ இதை வந்து நம்ம கன்வெர்ட் பண்ண போகிறோம். 0வை 1 கன்வெர்ட் பண்ண போகிறோம். 1 0 0 1. இது ஆல்ரெடி உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். ஒன்ஸ் காம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் எப்படி எடுக்கணும், டூஸ் காம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் எப்படி எடுக்கணும்னு ஆல்ரெடி நான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து லாஸ்ட் கிளாஸில் வந்து எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஸோ பாருங்கள், பை இன்வெர்ட்டிங் ஈச் பிட் ஆஃப் எ நம்பர் we can obtain the ones complement of a number. The negative numbers can be represented in the form of ones complement. In this form, the binary number also has an extra bit for sign representation as a signed magnitude form. So 2's complement எப்படி எடுக்கணும், ones complement எடுத்துட்டு அதோட 1 ஆட் பண்ணிட்டு திருப்பி என்ன பண்ணோத்த அதுதான் வந்து 2's complement. ஸோ பாருங்கள், by inverting each bit of a number and adding +1 to its least significant bit, we can obtain the 2's complement of the number. The negative numbers can also be represented in the form of 2's complement. In this form, the binary number also has an extra bit for a signed representation as a signed magnitude form. So this is what signed and unsigned binary numbers. So thank you students. In the next class we will come with the binary code.